All right, listen to this. We're going deep into art theft, Japanese mythology, and a detective who's, well, as sharp as his fedora.
Ooh, sounds interesting.
Yeah, so you ready for this? We've got excerpts from the Cherrywood Box,
Okay.
a noir detective novel, and a biography of the author, Jerry Bader. So get ready.
Yeah.
We're about to unpack a mystery like continents and decades,
Well, wow. That's quite a puzzle.
It is, it is.
Jerry Bader, huh?
Yeah, you know him.
I'm familiar with his work, yeah.
Okay.
He's kind of a chameleon.
Really?
Yeah, from gritty detective novels
Yeah.
to, like, charming children's stories. The man's got range.
That's what makes this so intriguing.
Yeah.
I mean, how does an author who writes about talking animals, magical lands,
Right.
create a world as dark and complex as the Cherrywood Box?
Oh.
But before we get too deep into that, let's set the stage.
Okay.
Our protagonist is Axel Webb, private investigator in Toronto, specializes in recovering lost or stolen items.
The bio mentions that Bader is known for crafting intricate plots, and this one is no exception.
Okay.
We're introduced to Axel in a dimly lit bar
Classic.
called the Fantoccini Posto,
Okay.
owned by a former ventriloquist,
Oh, wow.
which already hints at the layers of deception we're about to encounter.
Oh, I like it. I
Yeah.
like it. And things get even more unusual when Axel meets his new client,
Oh,
a small, nervous man,
okay.
and his ventriloquist dummy, the Fantoccio.
Wow.
Believe it or not.
Ooh-wee.
The dummy's the one who does the talking.
A ventriloquist dummy hiring a detective.
Right?
That's classic Bader.
It is.
A playful twist on the traditional noir setup,
Uh-huh.
and it perfectly captures that blend of humor and suspense.
It really does.
Yeah.
It does. The Fantoccio wants Axel to find the men who killed his pops, which seems, pretty straightforward case at first.
Well, yeah, but
Sure.
as with any good noir, nothing is ever as simple as it seems.
Of course not.
This seemingly routine investigation pulls Axel into a web of deceit,
Yeah.
double crosses. Oh,
And long-buried secrets.
juicy. So the heart of the mystery revolves around a stolen Cherrywood box.
Okay.
Belonged to Sam Sato, struggling pawn shop owner.
And this is where things get really interesting. The box contained a collection of valuable Japanese shunga woodblock prints.
Shunga prints. I have to admit, I needed to do a little research on this one.
Oh, yeah. They're often misunderstood, It's simply labeled as erotic art, but that's a vast oversimplification.
Okay.
Shunga prints were a significant part of Japanese art and culture during the Edo period, depicting, well, not just erotic scenes,
Right.
but also social customs, fashion, even humor.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. And the fact that these particular prints were supposedly gifts to Commodore Perry,
Yes.
why the Tokugawa shogunate, makes them even more valuable.
Precisely. So fast forward 20 years, and the Cherrywood Box resurfaces.
Okay.
Asami Sato, Sam's daughter, wants it back.
She claims it's a family heirloom, but something about her story doesn't quite add up.
I see. So here's where we get our first major twist. Asami is revealed to be working with, of all people,
Oh, no.
the Fantoccio,
The dummy.
the dummy.
What's a ventriloquist dummy doing mixed up in a high-stakes art heist?
Right.
And what are Sami's true motives?
Exactly.
These are the kinds of questions that keep you turning the pages, eager to unravel the truth.
You got it. And just when you think you have a handle on things, we're introduced to Anthony Barat,
Okay.
successful film producer, leads a seemingly charmed life, but as Axel digs deeper, he uncovers a shocking truth.
What's that?
Barat is actually Big Tony Buratino, a former porn kingpin with a connection to the original theft of the Cherrywood Box.
Oh, wow. Bader excels at creating characters who lead double lives.
Yeah.
It's a recurring theme in his work, reflecting a world where appearances are deceiving and everyone has something to hide.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as the investigation unfolds, we're thrust into a whirlwind of action.
Ooh.
Chases through Toronto's underground, tense standoffs in dimly lit alleyways, and double crosses that leave you wondering who to trust.
Wow. Bader doesn't shy away from the violence inherent in the noir genre.
No, he doesn't.
But he also infuses the narrative with these moments of dark humor.
Yeah.
Axel's dry wit.
I love it.
An unconventional approach to detective work, it provides a welcome counterpoint to the story's grittier element.
Totally agree. And just when the chase for the Cherrywood Box reaches a fever pitch,
Okay.
we get another bombshell.
Okay, I'm listening.
It's revealed to contain something even more valuable than the shunga prints, a rare ancient silk scarf.
What?
Called the Kusagusa no Mano no Hire.
Oh, what?
The Kusagusa no Mano no Hire.
And here's where the story transcends the confines of a traditional crime thriller and delves into the realm of Japanese folklore.
Okay, this is where I got a little lost.
Oh, okay. The Kusagusa no Mano no Hire, according to legend, is a sacred artifact.
Imbued with mystical properties.
Okay.
It's said to be one of three, each representing a different aspect of the mythical kitsune.
Okay.
A shape-shifting fox spirit.
So it's not just a scarf.
No.
It's a piece of Japanese mythology.
Right.
Which adds a whole new layer of intrigue to the story.
Exactly. And with this revelation, the stakes are raised exponentially.
Yeah.
The recovery of the Cherrywood Box and the Kusagusa no Mano no Hire becomes an obsession for various players, drawing Axel deeper into a dangerous game with international implications.
Oh, boy. And that's just the beginning.
Yeah.
We haven't even touched on the enigmatic Hibiki,
Right.
Asami's cousin, who seems to be playing both sides.
Or the shadowy organization known as the no Kitsune Kai,
Yeah.
who are determined to reclaim the Kusagusa no Mano no Hire for their own nefarious purposes. So much intrigue, so much danger. I'm already hooked. But before we dive into the second part of this deep dive, let me ask you this. We know that Bader is a versatile writer who draws inspiration from diverse sources. What elements of his other works do you see reflected in the Cherrywood Box?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll be exploring in more detail as we unravel the remaining layers of this fascinating mystery. So, picking up on your question about Bader's versatility, I think the Cherrywood Box really showcases his ability, to weave together these elements of crime fiction, historical intrigue, and mythology in a way that feels both familiar yet fresh.
I agree. It's like he's taken the classic hard-boiled detective and dropped him into a world where ancient artifacts hold real power.
Yeah.
Speaking of power, let's talk about Asami Sato.
Okay.
She's not your typical femme fatale. There's a ruthlessness to her, like a drive that goes beyond just getting her hands on the Cherrywood Box.
I'd agree. She's ambitious and cunning, operating in a shadowy world traditionally dominated by men. It makes me wonder if Bader drew inspiration from his biography on organized crime queens for this character.
Oh, interesting.
Those women were forces to be reckoned with, and Asami shares that same tenacity.
She's definitely not afraid to get her hands dirty. And then there's Dr. Sakura Tanaka.
Yes.
An expert on Japanese art and culture who gets caught up in the chase for the Kusagusa no Mano no Hire.
Her character highlights another fascinating aspect of Bader's writing, the exploration of moral ambiguity.
Oh, how so?
Dr. Tanaka is clearly brilliant, but she's also tempted by the allure of the unknown, the possibility of unlocking the scarf's secrets.
It's like the scarf itself represents a kind of forbidden knowledge, a power that can be both alluring and corrupting.
Right.
And speaking of corrupting, we can't forget about the no Kitsune Kai. They had a whole other level of danger to the story.
Their name itself, Nogitsune Kai, evokes the mythical nine-tailed fox, a creature of immense power and cunning in Japanese folklore.
Yeah, I see that.
Bader skillfully blends these elements of Japanese folklore into the narrative, creating an atmosphere of suspense and otherworldly intrigue.
It's like he's taken those ancient myths and given them a modern, gritty edge.
Yeah.
And it works brilliantly. You feel the weight of these legends, the sense that something ancient and powerful is at play.
It's not just about the violence or the threat of violence.
Right.
There's a sense of ritual and tradition surrounding the Nogitsune Kai.
Yeah.
A code of honor that's both fascinating and terrifying.
And it makes you wonder how much of this is rooted in real-world Yakuza activities. Bader's biography on female gangsters suggests he's done his research on organized crime.
It wouldn't surprise me if he drew inspiration from those real-life figures and events.
Yeah.
But what's so compelling about his writing is that he blends fact and fiction seamlessly, creating a world that feels both grounded and fantastical.
Another theme that really struck me was the idea of cultural appropriation. The Shunga prints, the Kusagusa no Mano no Hire, these are objects that hold deep meaning within Japanese culture.
And yet, they're constantly being sought after, stolen, and exploited by outsiders, who often fail to understand or respect their true significance.
It raises questions about ownership and the commodification of culture.
For sure.
Who has the right to possess these objects? Is it simply a matter of who can pay the highest price?
These are issues that resonate deeply in our modern world.
Absolutely.
Where the lines between cultural appreciation and appropriation are often blurred.
Yeah.
Bader doesn't offer any easy answers.
True.
But he prompts us to consider these complexities.
And it's not just about the objects themselves,
Right.
it's about the stories they tell,
Yeah.
the histories they represent.
The Shunga prints, for example, offer a glimpse into the social and artistic values of Edo period Japan.
Exactly.
And the Kusagusa no Mono no Hire, with its mythical connections, speaks to a deep-rooted belief in the power of the unseen world.
Bader uses these objects to explore the tensions between tradition and modernity, East to West, and he does it in a way that it feels both insightful and entertaining.
Yeah, he does.
But let's not forget about Axel Webb.
All right.
He's more than just a hard-boiled detective.
In what way?
There's a vulnerability to him, a sense that he's carrying some baggage.
I think that's what makes him such a compelling character.
Yeah.
He's flawed, cynical,
Uh-huh.
but he also has a strong sense of loyalty and a desire to do what's right,
Yeah.
even if it means bending the rules.
He's also got a great sense of humor, which, helps to lighten the mood in some pretty dark situations.
That dry wit is definitely one of his trademarks, and his relationships with Jojo and Marco.
Oh, yes.
His unconventional partners in crime solving.
All right.
Add another layer of depth to the story.
They're like a dysfunctional family, bickering and bantering their way through the case, but always having each other's backs.
That dynamic brings a sense of warmth and camaraderie to the story, even in the midst of all the danger and intrigue.
So we've talked about the characters, the themes, the cultural context.
Yeah.
What moments in the story really stand out to you? Are there any scenes that you found particularly memorable or impactful?
There are so many.
I bet.
But one that immediately comes to mind is the confrontation between Axel and Asami in his office.
Oh, yeah.
The tension in that scene is palpable.
It is.
Asami's fury is barely contained,
Right.
and Axel, for once, is caught off guard.
That scene really highlights Bader's skill with dialogue.
Oh, for sure.
It's sharp, concise, and loaded with subtext. You can feel the power dynamic shifting between them, even as they try to maintain a facade of civility.
Another scene that resonates with me is the meeting between Axel and Kitsune in London.
Ooh, talk about a clash of cultures.
Right.
Axel, the wisecracking detective from Toronto, finds himself face-to-face with the enigmatic leader of the Nogitsune-kai.
Exactly.
It's a tense, unsettling encounter,
It is.
full of unspoken threats and veiled warnings.
You can feel the weight of history and tradition pressing down on that scene.
I can imagine.
And it's in that moment that Axel realizes the true depth of the forces he's up against.
Yeah, and then there's the shocking betrayal by Hibiki, Kitsune's loyal lieutenant.
Oh, yeah.
That moment completely changes the game,
It does.
leaving you wondering who to trust and what will happen next.
It's a brilliant twist.
It is.
And it speaks to Bader's ability to keep the reader constantly guessing.
He does a good job of that.
Just when you think you have the story figured out, he pulls the rug out from under you.
But even with all the twists and turns, there's a sense of inevitability to the ending.
You think so?
It's both satisfying and bittersweet, a reminder that even in victory, there can be loss.
The Cherrywood Box and its contents are ultimately returned to their rightful place.
Right.
But the journey to get there is fraught with sacrifice and moral compromise.
And Axel, despite his success, is left with the weight of his actions,
Yeah.
the knowledge that some wounds never truly heal.
It's an ending that invites reflection.
It does.
A reminder that even the most righteous pursuits can have unintended consequences.
So we've unpacked the plot, delved into the characters' motivations, and explored the story's deeper themes.
We have.
But there's still so much to discuss.
There is.
In the final part of our deep dive, we'll examine the broader implications of the Cherrywood Box, its connections to contemporary issues,
Okay.
and its enduring power is a work of art.
I'm looking forward to unraveling those final threads with you.
So we've spent the last two parts, really getting to know this story.
Yeah.
The characters, the twists, the historical and cultural context. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the bigger picture,
Okay.
What does the Cherrywood Box say about our world, about us?
That's a question worth pondering.
It is.
One of the things that strikes me is how relevant the story's themes are to contemporary issues.
Like what?
Well, take cultural appropriation, for instance. We see it play out throughout the novel, with characters seeking to possess and profit from objects that hold, deep cultural and spiritual significance for the Japanese.
It makes you think about the ethics of collecting, doesn't it?
It does.
Museums, private collectors, even academics.
Yeah.
Are they appreciating these objects,
Right.
or are they exploiting them?
That's a good question.
And what about those who steal and sell these treasures on the black market? I mean, where do we draw the line?
It's a complex issue for sure.
Yeah.
And the Cherrywood Box doesn't offer easy answers.
No, it doesn't.
But it does force us to confront these questions.
Right.
It challenges us to think critically about our own roles as consumers and the choices we make when we, acquire objects from other cultures.
I see. And it's not just about cultural artifacts.
Right.
The story also touches on the enduring allure of lost treasures.
Yes.
That idea that there are still secrets hidden in the world just waiting to be discovered.
That sense of mystery and exploration is certainly part of what makes the story so captivating.
I agree.
But it also raises questions about the boundaries of exploration.
Oh, okay.
And the potential consequences of our discoveries. Like, when does the pursuit of knowledge cross over into exploitation?
Yeah.
Or even destruction?
We see those consequences play out in the novel.
We do.
With characters driven by, greed, ambition, a desire for power, and their actions have a ripple effect,
Right.
causing harm and upheaval in their wake.
It reminds us that the past is never truly past.
True.
It shapes our present and influences our future in ways we may not fully comprehend.
Speaking of the past, let's circle back to the role of art in the story.
Okay.
The Shunga prints, in particular, are a fascinating case study.
They are.
They're beautiful and intricately detailed, offering a glimpse into a specific time and place in Japanese history. But they're also explicitly erotic, which challenges our notions of what is considered art and how we define its value.
Exactly. Bader doesn't shy away from those uncomfortable questions.
He doesn't.
He forces us to confront our own biases and assumptions about art, culture, and sexuality, and he does it in a way that's both thought-provoking and entertaining.
Another thing that struck me about the Cherrywood Box is the way Bader blends genres.
Oh, yeah.
It's a crime thriller, a historical novel, a story steeped in Japanese folklore and mythology.
That blending of genres is one of Bader's hallmarks.
I agree.
He takes these familiar tropes and twists them, adding layers of complexity and unexpected depth.
Right, and in doing so, he creates a unique reading experience.
He does.
One that challenges our expectations and keeps us guessing until the very end.
Exactly.
Speaking of the ending, I found it both satisfying and bittersweet.
Yeah.
Justice is served in a sense, but there's a cost.
There is.
Characters make sacrifices, and the consequences of their actions linger long after the final page.
It's a reminder that even in victory, there can be loss.
Yeah.
And that sometimes the most difficult choices are the ones that leave us with the heaviest burdens.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
We've explored the plot, the characters, the themes, and the broader implications of the Cherrywood Box.
Yeah.
What are your final thoughts on the story? What will you take away from this experience?
For me, it's a reminder that stories have the power to transport us, to challenge us, and to connect us to something larger than ourselves.
I like that.
The Cherrywood Box does all of that and more.
I agree.
It's a story that will stay with me long after I've finished reading it.
I couldn't agree more. It's a story that's both entertaining and thought-provoking.
Yes.
A reminder that even in the darkest of alleys, there's always something worth fighting for.
Absolutely.
And with that, we conclude our deep dive into the Cherrywood Box.
Well, that went fast.
It did.
It did.
We hope you enjoyed this exploration.
We did.
And that it inspires you to seek out Jerry Bader's work.
Yeah, you should.
And discover its many layers for yourself.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Keep exploring, keep questioning.
Right.
And keep diving deep.